News to trending topics, we got you covered.
If it's buzzing, we're breaking it down.
Good afternoon, I'm Janina Vela. We may be young, but we are not naive. We ask questions, challenge the narrative, and we're learning in real time.
I'm Jille Sebandal. At kanang mga chika nga na-sense atong himoong headlines. So for the next half hour, it's time for our Unpopular Opinion.
Unpopular opinion. Say it again. Say it again. Unpopular opinion. We are open for discussion.
Welcome to the show, Jill.
Thank you.
So happy to have you here, especially because you've been in the Senate the last few days, no? How's that been?
Well, medyo stressful siya for me kasi takbo dito, takbo doon, but it went well.
Yeah. How is it like, no, seeing the senators, watching them on TV, and then bigla you see them face to face in the Senate?
Well, for me, it's overwhelming and it's an opportunity na nandun ako bigla-bigla. And I'm also thankful for that because it's a new experience for me.
Yeah, and seeing the senators face to face and seeing what's happening on the news, there's a lot of questioning now about the integrity of our politicians. Is there, I don't know, have you learned something, I guess, being able to ambush them, interview them, ask them your own questions about who they say they are behind the scenes and who they say they are to their constituents?
Yes, actually madami. Kasi pag nasa Senate ka, bigla-bigla walang schedules. Walang mga schedules talaga. Ambush lang ng ambush. So like, it's like asking something na hindi mo alam. Kasi when we are in the news, diba, ang dami-dami natin kailangan na kunin sa kanila. And it's kind of overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah, it is definitely overwhelming. And the headlines recently have also been very, very overwhelming, no?
Sobra-sobra.
Yeah, and we're, the public is really wondering, no, ano yung, saan na tayo in terms of moral standards? And saan na tayo, yun nga, about the integrity, no? Kasi we were just talking about Bato the other episode, or Senator Bato de la Rosa rather, about our episode, and, there was that question of, di ba, so nagsabi siya dati na hindi siya takot kung may arrest warrant from the ICC. And then suddenly, we see the complete opposite,
diba?
right?
Biglang sabi niya, hindi ko na, parang ayaw niya na ipadala sa dahil kasi he's a Filipino.
Yeah.
So, walang jurisdiction ng ICC, diba? So, yun yung mga bago ngayon. Ikaw ba, Janina, about the moral standard ngayon, what do you think about it?
It's super interesting because I was just reading online about former Senate President Tito Soto, and he said that he was surprised with even Senator Lauren Legarda's switching of sides to the Duterte bloc, right? So then I'm wondering, what is the driving force of these senators? Is it survival? Do we just jump ship when we know a ship is sinking? Or, are we really going to stand firm on our beliefs? And I guess as a politician, that's a little bit hard because you have to have some political maneuvering, right, to get your policies passed, to get the budget you need. So I think that's a hard balancing act, no, for somebody in such high office. What do you think about that?
Well, para sa akin, Janina, parang kailangan talaga nilang pumili kung saan sila a-align. Kasi nga, for the budgets, you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
But for me, parang kailangan lang din siya i-balance. Kasi people are watching, pero dapat ang priority pa rin natin is the constituents. So let's just I'm just hoping na isa-set aside muna yung mga personal conflicts or yung mga other agendas. Sana fingers crossed, 'di ba? Unahin muna yung constituents kasi nagugulo na rin as we notice, 'di ba? Yung mga tawag dito nagrarally na, mga ganyan. So sana set aside na muna yon and let's just focus on the real goal. What's the goal of them being seated, 'di ba?
Exactly, because ngayon people are asking or saying pare-pareho lang naman yung mga politicians natin. Pare-pareho lang naman sila. What do you think about that sentence?
Well, pare-pareho lang naman sila because some of them may mga pinangako. They have a lot of promises during the campaign. Pero ngayon, some of them hindi natin nakikita, di ba? To be honest. And syempre, you were also in Congress, Janina. 'di ba, nakikita natin, especially sa'yo, na lahat ng mga pinangako, ganyan, napapako.
Yeah.
What about the Congress?
In
Ano
the
yung mga
Congress,
nakikita mo doon?
Well, you know, when we think pare-pareho lang naman sila, for me, the thought goes to what is the system that is making these politicians who have all these promises, who have all of these beliefs, and then you end up completely different from who you were in the
Yeah.
campaign period. So then my question is, what happens the moment you step into batasang pambansa? Like what happens when you step foot in the Senate? What happens in the committees behind closed doors? Na parang nagbabago sila? Or is it the system mismo? Because I remember I read an article about these two SK representatives, no, that they were asking for 20% kickback, and this is SK, ha? So I'm wondering, I'm sure they ran for good reason, diba? They ran because they believed in the system. But for some reason, the system let them down. And I have so many questions na tuloy. What happens when they step into that building?
Nape-pressure ba sila? Or siguro na-overwhelmed din dahil sa bago nga sila sa Congress, ganyan.
Yeah.
So, well, eventually, malalaman din natin yan kung ano ba talaga yung mga nangyayari in the long run.
Oo nga. And parang ang dami nating tanong, but up next, you know, politicians are the same. We want to ask our guests all of the questions that happen in the Congress and the Senate and the government, so we can see who these politicians really are. So after the break, we sit down with Congressman Brian Poe to unpack the man behind the politics. So don't go away. Unpopular Opinion will be right back.
Welcome back to Unpopular Opinion. Congressman, animal lover, Nepo baby? All things used to label Brian Poe. But who is this man behind politics?
So we sit down with one of the House Hotshots to unpack him, his politics, and his passions on PoliTalkz. Good afternoon, Kong Brian. Thank you for joining us today.
Of course, it's a pleasure to be here, Janina.
We're so glad to see you. You know, we know so much about you and your family, right? From the big screen, from the Senate. But how I wanted to start us off with asking, how was that like growing up under that kind of spotlight?
Well, to be honest, half my life, or well, now 1/3 of my life, wala naman ako dun sa spotlight.
Yeah.
I think it's no secret naman, I grew up in the States. But then, high school onwards, nandito na ako. It was a big adjustment for me kasi hindi ko alam na ganun kalaking artista yung lolo ko na si
Really?
FPJ.
You didn't know?
I knew he was an actor. I didn't know he was like the king of Philippine cinema.
Did you grow up watching his stuff?
I did actually. So I watched some of it growing up, and then later on when I was in high school and college, I had a better appreciation for it. Mas naiintindihan ko na. And then, syempre, with the advent of YouTube, ang daming lumalabas na mga
Yes.
FPJ films on YouTube. So kahit yung mas luma na FPJ films, nakikita ko siya on YouTube. So I was able to catch up.
Yeah. And so what was that culture shock like, no? Like what was new when you came here?
Everything was new. Naninibago talaga ako. Hindi ko alam na ganun kasikat yung mga grandparents ko. And then even as time continued beyond that, eventually when my mom became senator, life changed again. From it being quiet in private sector to now being in politics, as my mom would be what we call first generation in politics.
And you were a correspondent, right? So Jille and I actually are very, very new correspondents, very, very new reporters. Is there a journalist's instinct that you use in plenary debates?
Absolutely. Everything has to be fact-based.
Yeah.
I have to make sure that everything is done with proper consultation. Kung titingnan mo yung mga batas na fina-file ko, lagi kami una dun sa consultations bago yung filing. It's something that I learned from my time as a journalist.
Yeah.
You have to get all sides.
Yes,
Right?
correct. Yeah.
Back when I was with then CNN Philippines, even before that, I was part of the transition team from 9 News to CNN Philippines. And of course, we had minimum requirements, getting at least 2 quotes one from opposing sides. 3 would be great, so you get an objective opinion. And I carried that principle into legislation, so I want to make sure that all sides are represented. Kung nakita mo yung mga hearings na ginawa namin for transportation, syempre tinawagan namin yung mga ride-hailing platforms. And of course, we hold them accountable to their commitments in Congress. But if you look outside of the work in the committee level, tignan mo yung mga social media platforms ko, I give them the opportunity to voice also their side.
Yeah.
So I also shared what they did to help the ride-hailing community pa rin. So it's that which I brought over from journalism to my work now.
So
as a
speaking of
legislator.
journalism, Kong, do you have any advice for me? Technically for us.
Yeah.
Since I'm new to this field, do you have any advices for us, Kong?
Well, one is be fearless as a journalist. Minsan, kinakabahan pa rin tayo.
Yes.
Lalo na pag mga big names ang nasa harap mo. But you have to realize that the voice of the people comes out in 2 different mediums. One is through its elected representatives, but the other is also through the media.
Kong, as a journalist, and you're telling us to be fearless, do you find that you have more understanding when journalists ask you tough questions? Like, if they ask you spicy questions,
Yes.
are you like, oh, grabe naman tong journalist na to? Or are you like, you know what, he's doing his job?
No, naiintindihan ko.
Okay.
Naiintindihan ko naman kung saan sila nagkagaling.
Yeah.
At the same time, a lot of them I worked with in the field before. So it's nice to see them. But as much as possible, I also see how trending topics and I guess click-worthy headlines sometimes become the news instead of what maybe some might feel are more pressing matters.
Actually, I wanted to pick up from this, because last I heard of your name, honestly, was the elections, was your candidacy. Is this something that has guided your tenure, that you wanted to stay behind the scenes and just front the policies instead?
As much as possible, I want my work to speak for itself. So kung anong ginagawa ko sa mga committee hearings, kung ma-pick up yan ng mga balita, then masaya na ako. Kasi that means that it was an issue that resonates with the people. We saw that with the illegal online gambling. Thanks to our committee hearing, I believe 47 sites were shut down. We see that with our ride-hailing platforms after we gave that privileged speech or that manifestation on the floor. They were enticed to really roll back on their commissions and give more to the drivers. I don't want to be a press release politician na parang lumalabas lang ako pag mainit ang balita. That's not who I am.
But isn't that hard, Kong? Like, don't you need the fame? Don't you need the spotlight to be able to do what you do, right?
You do. And so from time to time, you do tackle pressing matters like the energy crisis.
Yeah.
I did not miss a single energy crisis hearing. I was there for all of them. Because I want to be a part of that discussion. And it's a pressing national matter. The Justice Committee hearings, I was also present there. These are things that, they're important national matters. But I'm not going to go out of my way if it's a topic that's just trending, just to jump on it.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of politics that I want.
Kong, let's switch things up a bit na. To get to know you better, we pulled the most searched questions about you online.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, sure.
And are you ready? In Bisaya, andam na ba ka?
Handa na ako.
Handa ka na? Handa. Well, you have to be ready.
Okay.
All right. About this. Is Brian Poe a son of Grace Poe? Ayan, sa nakikita natin sa screen. Technically, yes,
I
of
am
course.
definitely the son of Senator Grace Poe. That's correct.
But do you consider yourself as a Nepo baby?
That's what the internet seems to call me. One thing, though, I must say, when we were, because I'm one of the principal authors also of the anti-dynasty bill. One of the things I have to say is I've been hit a lot with dynasty politics.
Yeah.
And my frustration with it is, my mom's not even in office. I'm the only serving Poe or Llamanzares that I know of.
Yeah.
And yet I'm still hit with this whole politics issue. And on top of that, principal author also of the anti-dynasty bill. So it's been a little frustrating,
Yeah.
but in reality, I understand where people are coming from. They want change, and
Yeah.
seeing familiar, names and faces, sometimes it doesn't feel like the
Like
change that they want.
whiplash.
Yeah. So in a shorter answer, I guess based on the internet, I would be. But that's why I work so hard because I
Yeah.
want to show that I'm more than just my last name.
But when you entered Congress, you had your mom in your pocket, right? Or maybe in your ear. Has she influenced the way that you've done Congress, or is this Brian Poe? Is this you?
Definitely, there's influence from my mom's time as a senator. I spent 10 years working in her office, from researcher all the way to eventually serving as chief of staff. So there is influence there. Like, for example, the very first bill that I filed was the Freedom of Information bill.
Yes, yes.
Because my mom also filed the Freedom of Information bill, and she fought for it through several Congresses. This Congress, the 20th Congress, is now the closest we have ever come to passing the Freedom of Information bill. It passed already in the Senate. In the House, we have word that it's going to pass very soon.
Okay.
And so, as vice chair of that Committee on Public Information and Mass Media, I'm also pushing for it. That you can see the reflection of the principles of what my mom believed in being reflected also in the legislation now. But you can also see where the differences come. So I'm another generation. Iba yung mahalaga para sa akin. So makikita mo yan sa AI bill na na-file ko,
Yeah.
or my stance on national security, cybersecurity,
Yes.
issues that are more or mas angko para sa generation natin. No?
Looking at your educational background, did you invest a lot in studying? Or did you ever consider taking up law?
I did consider taking up law, but unfortunately, I felt like I didn't have time. Because I was full-time with my mom's office in the Senate. But in hindsight, because I've completed my PhD and 2 masterals, I actually did have the time to do law school.
For sure. I mean, because the search here is Brian Poe a lawyer?
Yeah.
But I'm very flattered. I know what our lawyers go through, and I'm very humbled that people would even think of me as one. But no, I am a doctor, though, of public administration.
Wow, amazing.
Ooh.
Well, now, we'll shift gears again and we take a look at online conversations surrounding you, no?
Okay.
This first one is about party lists. So a lot of
Okay.
people are questioning non-district party list
Yes.
representation in Congress. What's your take on how it works? Do you think it still fully serves your purpose?
Well, the party list platform, to be honest, I feel that it has been very open to abuse. That's why I filed a party list reform bill, because I realized that there are really things that we have to work on. FPJ Panday Bayanihan party list does not represent Pandays. It represents the economically disadvantaged. And while
Yes.
FPJ stands for food, progress, and justice, a lot of Filipinos assume that it stands for FPJ.
Yeah, and I'm one of those
Fernando Poe
Filipinos.
Jr. No. So it stands for food, progress, and justice. And
Yeah.
a lot of people have been asking me, how do you actually represent, as a
Yeah.
party list congressman, these pillars or the economically disadvantaged? I became vice chair for food and agriculture. I became vice chair for economic development. I
Yeah.
became vice chair for the Committee on Justice because those are my pillars. And when it comes to representing the economically disadvantaged, ang dami nagsasabi na kailangan lived experience. But the
Yeah.
reality is, my job as a representative is to represent.
Yes.
So kahit hindi ako talagang galing doon, that doesn't mean I can't consult. So if you go through my social media, you'll see that throughout the economic crisis that's happening right now, I touch base with the farmers, fisher folk, transport community, urban poor, and yung mga tanong nila, yung mga pain points nila, yun yung naging mga tanong ko
Yes.
on the floor in the committee hearings.
Yeah.
Again,
Oh.
because of that journalism background.
And now we have another comment. Let's read it from the wall. Let's flash that right now. Okay, referencing a pop culture helps the masses to at least appreciate legal hearings, especially itong impeachment dahil dapat lang lahat ng Pilipino ay aware at nakatutok dito. So I guess this is on your comment, right, about
Yes.
using pop culture references. And what do you think about this comment here?
No, naintindihan ko sila. I'm not oblivious to the fact na pop culture references make it easier to understand some of, or even relate to a lot of the things na pinag-uusapan natin in the House of Representatives. I only raised that concern because over the course of the 4 hearings that he had in the Committee on Justice, parang tuloy-tuloy lumalabas pop culture. And I wanted to give the respect that's due also to the proceeding because the impeachment proceeding was one of the most important proceedings in the country.
Absolutely.
And on top of that, the gravity of the situation demanded more respect and seriousness. At least that's how I felt.
Yeah.
You know? Pero naintindihan ko, it's just in that specific moment, back and forth na sila sa mga movie quotes eh.
Yeah.
And medyo parang nainganyo yung mga kasama ko na mag-isip kung anong pwede pang quote
Iba
na
to,
pwede
oo.
iba to. And I'm no stranger to this. Sa pag-iikot ko sa mga rallies dati, sa mga consultative meetings ko, I still reference FPJ quotes. No?
Okay.
Because it still resonates with people until today. But you know, everything has its right time and
Right time.
place.
Okay.
Right
Yeah.
time. Well, speaking of right time, Kong, meron kaming another ipapakita sa'yo, which is comment pa rin. Yan. Mas happy pag may equality. Ayan. So, sabi dito, along with you is Kong Ryan and
Yes.
Kong Javi of one of the Hotshots.
Yes.
So, para sa filed na SOGI bill, why do you think the Philippines is still struggling to pass it?
Well, there's a number of reasons no,
Yeah.
kung bakit nahihirapan tayo ipasa tong batas na ito. Una, it deals with many different groups. No? So consolidating their opinions and what they want to prioritize and
Yeah.
what they want to give way on is quite difficult. Kasi as you know, no, this has gone through many different versions.
Yeah.
From the Senate to the Congress. It started out as the SOGI bill, and now it's the SOGI SC Plus bill.
Yes. Okay.
So we're really looking at the different voices that are involved here.
So later, discussing more on your advocacies as a member of the Committee on Nuclear Energy, what guarantees can you give that nuclear energy will not only be effective, but more importantly, safe for the country? But before you answer this question, unpopular opinion will be right back. Welcome back. We left off with this question. Now, as a member of the Committee on Nuclear Energy, what guarantees can you give that nuclear energy will not only be effective, but more importantly, safe for our country?
All right, well, I'll throw it back to you. How many nuclear failures do you know of since nuclear technology was invented?
Just the one in the Philippines.
I see what you did there. But actually, on a technical level, there's
Yeah.
only been 2. There's Fukushima and there's Chernobyl, unless there's
Yes.
something that I'm not familiar with. No, but since then, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of nuclear plants across the world.
Yes.
Right? And you've only had 2. So that's a point-something failure
that's a
rate,
good way to
right?
look at it.
So that's one way to look at it. No? Na the chances of failure for a nuclear plant are quite low, especially now na medyo nag-evolve ng konti ang nuclear technology natin. Hindi na yung mga bagong nuclear plants, hindi na sila katulad ng Fukushima. They've massively improved nuclear technology. In fact, they've actually created micronuclear technology. So this is what we call our modular nuclear energy. So there's been a lot of improvement.
Yeah, but what is our plan with nuclear waste, right? Because this will remain radioactive for a little bit, right? What's the Philippines' plan on that?
Well, that's why we have to revisit our waste disposal laws. But we actually put in a bill that looks into the penalties. So aside from pushing nuclear energy, what I like about our chairman, Mark Coanco, and our committee is that we actually pushed forward the penalties and civil liabilities of failed nuclear disposal, any incidents that could occur because of nuclear energy, because we want to prioritize the safety. Naintindihan naman namin yung takot ng mga tao.
In layman's terms, for anybody who doesn't know what nuclear energy is, can you quickly help us understand why this is also better for the Philippines?
Okay. So there are many different energy sources, no? But nuclear energy has shown to be one of the most efficient in delivering a large amount of energy quickly. No? And in the Philippines in particular, because of the advent of modular nuclear energy, we're an archipelago, thousands of islands. No? The solar, you need massive fields,
Correct.
which means that you eat up agricultural land. Wind and hydro, in order for you to get to the bayan, ang layo, yung transmission cables. So tumataas yung generation cost. Modular nuclear energy, you can put a nuclear facility in a province, an island, and that can supply the entire area. And the cost of which is what's so interesting.
Thank you so much, Kong.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kong Brian Poe.
No worries.
So sorry. I wish we could have more time with you. I'd love to pick your brain more on nuclear energy. But, you know, as the public keeps watch over our lawmakers, scrutiny must go beyond law and politics and into integrity. Once again, I'm Janina Vela, and if this episode got you thinking, then our work here is done.
And I'm Jille Sebandal. Og mooyon ka o dili, we said what we said. And that's another unpopular opinion.
Unfact.
Unpopular opinion.
Bitin!
Say it again. Unpopular